All right, you modern humans. In this video, we deliver Ulster is Asking to be Let Alone by Edward Carson. This is Speaking Through the Ages, where we bring back the dead in an attempt to bring out the values, beliefs, and internal struggles of those humans that came before. We give context to and deliver historical speeches that motivated people to kill, riot, make salt, and sign papers. We have given you a glimpse into the geopolitical conflicts, not just between Ireland and England, but also within Ireland itself. As Ireland gained traction in Irish Home Rule, Edward Carson fought vehemently for North East Ireland, or Ulster. Ulster was mostly Protestant and loyal to the UK. Under an Irish parliament, Ulster feared they would be second-class citizens. In 1910, Edward Carson organized a British resistance to Irish Home Rule and established the Ulster Unionist Council in 1911. A year later, he raised an Ulster army of 80,000 men who pledged to resist Irish Home Rule with all their might. Then in London, February 11th, 1914, Edward Carson took advantage on the debate on the speech from the throne and delivered Ulster is Asking to be Let Alone. The speech from the throne is a speech given by the monarch at the opening of a new parliament and followed by debates on particular matters, like Irish Home Rule. Ulster is not asking for concessions. Ulster is asking to be let alone. When you talk of concessions, what you really mean is we want to lay down what is the minimum of wrong we can do to Ulster. Let me tell you that the results of 2 years' delay and the treatment we have received during these 2 years have made our task far more difficult. You have driven these men to enter into a covenant for their mutual protection. No doubt you have laughed at their covenants. Have a good laugh at it now. Well, so far as I'm concerned, I am not the kind of man who will go over to Ulster one day and say, enter into a covenant, and go over the next day and say, break it. But there is something more. You have insulted them. I do not say the Prime Minister has done so. I would be wrong if I were to say that he has done so. He has treated them seriously, but the large body of his colleagues in the rank and file of his party have taken every opportunity of jeering at these men, of branding them as braggarts and bluffers and cowards, and all the rest of it. Well, do not you see that having done that, these men can never go back, and never will go back, and allow these jibes and insults and sneers to prove true? The speech from the throne talks of the fears of these men. Yes, they have, I think, genuine fears for their civil and religious liberty under the bill. But do not imagine that it is all that these men are fighting for. They are fighting for a great principle and a great ideal. They are fighting to stay under the government which they were invited to come under which they have flourished, under which they are content, and to refuse to come under a government which they loathe and detest. Men do not make sacrifices or take up the attitude these men in Ulster have taken up on a question of detail or paper safeguards. I am not going to argue whether they are right or wrong in resisting. It would be useless to argue it because they have thoroughly made up their minds. But I say this: if these men are not morally justified when they are attempted to be driven out of one government which they are satisfied and put under one which they loathe, I do not see how resistance ever can be justified in history at all. Believe me, whatever way you settle the Irish question, there are only two ways to deal with Ulster. It is for statesmen to say which is the best and right one. She is not a part of the community which can be bought. She will not allow herself to be sold. You must therefore either coerce her if you go on, or you must, in the long run, by showing that good government can come under the Home Rule Bill, try and win her over to the case of the rest of Ireland. You probably can coerce her, though I doubt it. If you do, what will be the disastrous consequences not only to Ulster, but to this country and empire? Will my fellow countryman, the leader of the Nationalist Party, have gained anything? I will agree with him. I do not believe he wants to triumph any more than I do. But will he have gained anything if he takes over these people and then applies for what he used to call, at all events, his party used to call, the enemies of the people to come in and coerce them into obedience? No, sir. One false step in relation to Ulster will, in my opinion, render forever impossible a solution of the Irish question. I say this to my nationalist fellow countrymen, and indeed also to the government. You have never tried to win over Ulster. You have never tried to understand her position. You have never alleged and can never allege that this bill gives her one atom of advantage. Nay, you cannot deny that it takes away many advantages that she has as a constituent part of the United Kingdom. You cannot deny that in the past, she had produced the most loyal and law-abiding part of the citizens of Ireland. After all, for these 2 years, every time we came before you, your only answer to us, the majority of you, at all events, was to insult us and to make little of us. I say to the leader of the Nationalist Party, if you want Ulster, go and take her, or go and win her. You have never wanted her affections. You have wanted her taxes. The extraordinary part of it all is that as I read the speeches from day to day, I always find that the men who most readily talk of coercing us in Ulster are the men who cried shame when you tried to coerce the Boers in South Africa. I hope peace may continue to the end. I know and have weighed all the horrors that civil commotion may bring. It will not be my fault if resistance becomes necessary. But, Mr. Speaker, on my conscience, I shall not refuse to join it. Thank you for joining us during this historical moment. See you next time, where the dead teach.